Hi, my name is Gil Huff, and this is UAP Technology. This is a special episode, a little off topic, but not really. This channel is about space and technology, then what humans are doing is very applicable. And there's probably no greater center of innovation and opening up space than what's happening in Boca Chica, Texas with SpaceX and Elon Musk. It is a revolutionary, reusable, heavy lift rocket that would change everything, assuming we can get through the bureaucracy. And if we don't, well, we've showcased how to do it, and other countries will. It's a big risk. And I think it's probably in the United States national security interest that we're able to comment and move forward on it if we can. If the draft EA is given a finding of no significant impact, then I'm very excited about our future. So please like, subscribe, hit the little notification button, comment below. This is a fascinating conversation, and I love comments. So, to the point. First of all, I have this expert comment. I am somewhat of an expert, at least roughly, as far as I have professionally worked with NEPA for over 25 years. I have turned around an EIS early in my career, had led that effort, and I've worked under building projects under programmatic EAs for much of the last decade. So I do have some real sound experience under, so that an EA is part of the National Environmental Policy Act. NEPA, as it's known, has different levels of review. The most comprehensive is an EIS that takes years. An EA can usually be done under a year. And a programmatic EA is a variation when things are not set, but are constantly changing. And this is a programmatic EA. It's a very sound approach, I think, by the FAA. So I'm going to give you 5 basic guidelines, and I hope you will follow. And because, commenting is going to be critical to success. Now, first mistake I've seen, this is not a popularity contest. This is not a democratic process. EA, or any action under NEPA, is about analyzing environmental impacts. They have a public comment period, but that has to refer to specific changes under it or what is being reviewed to get the public comment on what might have been missed in the draft, particularly. They help with the scoping early on at what to look at. Then the public at large can review that to make sure nothing is being missed. So that helps the federal government come to the final conclusion that has listened to those public comments. But it doesn't matter. I mean, every environmental review that I know of has had more people against something than for it. It's just kind of the nature of it. NIMBYism. Not in my backyard. Nobody wants anything built. But things get built. And that's probably the second biggest misunderstanding under NEPA. People say, well, this will cause environmental harm. Yeah, I guess we'll look around at every action around you. We're hurting the environment all the time. That's not actually against the law. Maybe it should be, but it's not. And the federal government takes actions, oil pipelines cutting across our nation, often causing spills. I mean, I go after one after the other, everything that goes through NEPA that has done, in many cases, has a long history. Oil pipelines leak all the frickin' time, and they keep permitting them. Why? They're doing environmental damage. Well, they get through NEPA. Each pipeline manages to get through NEPA, and this project logically should. The environmental impact of the Boca Chica facility is going to be far smaller than a lot of federal actions that are taken. So those are a couple of misunderstandings. what we are going for, the golden land that we are going for here, if you're a space enthusiast, is the programmatic EA coming to a final conclusion of no significant impact. Under like a state historic society has to agree. They would do a marine, watersheds. There's a host of categories. If you read the draft EA, you'll see all those broken down, and they're reviewed. And each one kind of comes to a conclusion, or mitigation might be necessary. And that's very classic. I've had projects that I've worked where you chop down some trees that are critical bat habitat, so you plant twice as many over here to make sure that the an endangered species of bat, because not all bats are protected, isn't harmed in that area. So you have to show that and that's really the intent of NEPA, is not that human activity is going to do harm, but can you focus down on the different pieces, review them, look at ways to mitigate them, so that we do activities, they happen in the most environmentally responsible way. And this EA, I think, does a great job of breaking down. It doesn't have all the details. A lot of times all the details aren't available, but it's been looked at, planned around, and I think this is a very sound document. Something else to be aware of, I've seen a lot of comments that misunderstand this, is they're commenting on Starship and in the plane to Mars, and we need to be thinking about offshore oil rig launch pads and looking at this and that. And it's like, no. This EA isn't about space travel. This is about the vertical launch facility at Boca Chica. And yes, Starships and the heavy lift rocket, super heavy lift rocket, will be launching from there, and they look at that. But what's being looked at is the launch facility. That is what the federal action being taken is, a launch permit facility, not the rockets going up. So in this particular action, any comments therefore have to be about the facility, not necessarily the ships or the plans or other things unrelated to the facility. Third thing that I really want to stress with people, the people that do these things are public servants. They're not politicians. These are just people doing their job. Comments should be polite, clear, concise. Sending them that you should do this, God darn it, you're holding back everything, that's not helpful. Saying, hey, I think there are ways to mitigate the impact on sea turtles with the lighting. I think SpaceX's light management program that they have will mitigate those impacts, and therefore there clearly will be no significant impact long-term on these, turtle marine population. That is the kind of comments that the EA reviewer is looking at and the FAA is looking at. Polite, clear, concise. And they have to be focused. So, as I say, I'm not going to go over them all. If you're going to comment on the draft EA, I'm assuming you're reading, and I encourage you to do that, the draft EA. Look at the different, like air pollution. I can give you a great resource, actually, in the air pollution thing, and that is the everyday astronaut. One of the space categories I mentioned, he did a fantastic job of breaking down the different air pollutants, different fuels and air pollution from rocket. First of all, I found that all worldwide rocket launches have almost no impact on air pollution. And he looked at the different fuels. Kerosene, that most, rocket fuel that most ships use, is some of the dirtiest. And there's dirtier. But methane and hydrogen are some of the cleanest burning fuels out there. And the Starship that is coming here is, looking at burning methane, which is actually a clean rocket fuel in comparison to a lot of things we use historically. So it's a great change that both SpaceX and Blue Origin is doing this. Now, I won't say what Blue Origin is or isn't doing, But I have been paid to take poke at EAs on things much less high profile and controversial as this facility. And if you don't think that people aren't being paid to attack this EA, well, you're wrong. I'm sure you are. I'm sure some of the things that we've seen in the press has been funded because somebody is hoping these various groups will go after this EA. It's probably not their highest and best use. In fact, completely contradictory to a lot of their mission to be going after a reusable, clean rocket that will help a lot, I think, in climate change, getting dirty industries off the planet. This is our low-cost solution to space travel and opening up a lot of things that could help people. Space technology in general has a long track record with NASA of bringing real-world help here. And we've been stuck in a rut. And SpaceX is getting us out of that rut. And this rocket is revolutionary in its potential positive impact to our planet and society. So, and frankly, NASA's plan to the moon doesn't work without this. And if we can't get this EA, well, I don't think we're going back to the moon this decade. Not in a sustainable way. Because, we have to be able to manage the bureaucracy that we've been building up every year. And, so here we go. So here I'm going to actually make my fifth, and in my opinion, the most critical issue, point to be made, really, not issue. Because I think it's actually the FAA has done exactly the right approach here with a programmatic EA. First of all, I do want to stress to everybody, this is not the first environmental assessment this place has had. In 2016, I believe, a complete EIS. So NEPA has different kinds of environmental review under the National Environmental Policy Act. EA, EIS, Programmatic EA. And the EIS is the biggest. It takes years. So when people suggest that they should be looking at things not in here and big picture, making sure that what they're really saying is stop all work for years while people try to figure out everything we might be doing in the next decade. And, that's good. That'd be a disaster. Partly because, I think China and other countries who have been watching very closely what's going on here would take the lessons learned. And if we do not have low-cost access to space, but other countries have low-cost access to space on a fundamentally different level. I mean, a reusable ship where, SpaceX is looking at manufacturing. They're already doing it once every, 6 weeks they're capable of doing. And then you can reuse them. They say hours, but even if it's days and you build 100 and they're going out, the fundamental change to space travel and space resources is huge. And the impact on the economy and our lives will be huge. And I think that'd be fantastic if it's the United States or our close allies that are doing that, and potentially devastating to our national security if somebody else is doing it. And because this has been a real public process, we've taught them how to do it. So let's hope we can get through this programmatic EA. As a slight tangent, so this facility, this exact Boca Chica facility, went through the EIS process and got a finding of no significant impact already. The federal action that triggered that, because the federal action triggers NEPA, was the FAA licensing of the launch facility. That license ends in 2025. And so a second action, SpaceX is applied for a new launch license. That triggered NEPA. Now, what the FAA did, since a EIS and an EA looks at all the same stuff, just goes through the same process, it's just a little more focused. Since the FAA has already done an EIS for the site, they went with an EA, a shorter, more focused thing. It can take maybe a year compared to 3 or plus years for an EIS. And they use a kind of EA known as a programmatic EA. Again, dead on. I've worked under programmatic EAs. What programmatic EAs are designed for is things are either being duplicated, very similar, or very active and changing. This is a research facility. I have heard a lot of people say, oh, they shouldn't give the EA now because, SpaceX doesn't know how they're getting fuel to their generator or how they're getting fuel for their methane or what their, how their structures are going to look exactly. And it's like, well, that's all true. But that, this is a research facility where they're kind of figuring out as they go. So programmatic EA is designed for that exact kind of situation. A programmatic EA looks at all those things and then can be amended. An amendment to the EA looks at changes of new things, new buildings, new construction, a new area, and has to look over those same things. But so let's look at a natural gas pipeline for their generator. They don't know that's what they're going to do. They're looking at multiple options for getting fuel for their generator, in addition to building more solar and stuff like that. You can't review what you don't know. They're evaluating different things. So let's say the site as a whole, everything going on gets a permit. And then when they want to do something new, which still will require a permit, if you build a natural gas pipeline, that's going to require a permit. You can amend that, or at least for the part of that impacts the facility, and do an amendment to the EA that still looks at, again, state historic and floodplains and all the same stuff, but it's focused not on everything that's going on at the launch facility, but on that exact action. It's more focused, it happens much quicker, and doesn't stop everything else going on. It allows flexibility, still does environmental review as things changes. How many engines is Super Heavy going to have? Well, it's in the EA, when it's being launched next, and what is being planned, they're all different numbers. We don't know the exact thing, but as things change, as Elon, we don't know how it's going to be successful or not. It's a research project at this point. We have goals, but you can't plan for goals. What's being reviewed is real world actions in the foreseeable planned future. And as those change, the EAA has an amendment process that easily adapts to that. It's exactly the right tool to be using. And I have heard some comments that, crazy comments that would stop us from ever doing anything if that was how the NEPA process worked. I think we need to be very supportive of the FAA and the federal government's use of a programmatic EA. It is clearly the right choice. And I encourage you and everybody, no matter what your comment, to support the programmatic EA, and that things that aren't completely clear at this point can be amended and added later. That's how it works. That's what it's designed for. So very, very good. I am very hopeful that we will get a good result. A finding of no significant impact in the programmatic EA comes out. How much time after the comment period closes on November 1st, so comment now, comment quick. It depends a little bit on the comments. As I say, I expect there's some highly paid people right now going after this who are going to bring up a lot of technical mumbo jumbo to throw at them that could slow things down. If there by some miracle isn't, or it's just clearly not applicable stuff, because I think the EA is very solidly done. They clearly back up and show all their data and how they come to their conclusion. Then it could come out really quick. I mean, they've already done a full EIS for the site. This is a second environmental review. It is a programmatic EA, so they don't have to have everything figured out. They can simply amendment as the project goes. So I'm hopeful that, probably beginning of the year, of the finding of no significant impact, but it's not guaranteed. There are lots of lawyers and NEPA experts that will be paid to go after this. And the national security and economic implications of us losing this facility, which is critical. I don't think it's understood how critical this facility is. If SpaceX has to try to build it somewhere else, or another country simply uses the blueprint and repeats it, the implications are mind-boggling. But let's be positive. I urge everybody to comment clearly, concisely, on point about the facility. Let's get this thing done. Let's move forward. Let's go to space. And I appreciate you listening. Again, subscribe, like, hit the little notifications. Consider reading one of my books. And I really appreciate everybody listening. Comment below. Let's have a discussion. And because this is such a critical issue, and it is so time critical, I will also ask that you share it. Share it with other space enthusiasts. Share it with other people that you think will comment on this. Share it to other channels. Happy to talk to other commenters to go over how NEPA works. And we really need to make a couple-week push on good comments on the programmatic EA and getting this license. Thank you so much, and have a fantastic day.